I oftentimes have entrepreneurs come into my office and say, I don't want to raise money from anyone except family offices. And as the family offices in the room, I'd like to know what you would say to an entrepreneur if that was their fundraising strategy.
Thank you for your vote of confidence, I suppose. But it's probably, one of the bigger misconceptions is that the most family offices aren't as involved and aren't as tough with driving towards milestones and holding entrepreneurs accountable. So I think that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions that might lead investors to make a statement like that.
Private equity from family offices, it's private and it's pretty low visibility. So trying to find these family offices can be a big challenge, and that's what I like about the RESI conference. They're one of the first conferences I've seen that will have started to bring out the family office folks into visibility. But there's lots of them out there, but finding them can be, and you need eventually, if you're into oncology and you're diabetes, cardiovascular, you're going to need guys with deep pockets, and that means real private equity like crossover funds or venture to partner up with you.
So beyond that Series A, we're more apt to introduce a company to, say, Sequoia, and if they do due diligence and lead a Series A, they'll let us invest like $150 in good faith. And that's why we built this entire ecosystem, is to introduce companies to VCs for the biggest ticket sizes, or to institutional investors through the corporate venture arms we work with. We wouldn't really, fund an entire round or anything like that.
So that said, there are obviously kind of some differences in between how more traditional venture capital investors and family offices might operate. Could you highlight what some of those differences might be in your case?
I think VCs, where they might have a high potential for very domain-specific expertise and connections, a larger family office might have either geographically diverse or sector or industry diverse, politically diverse. So just as you would diligencing any two investors, I think you'll start to uncover where their networks might add value or not to what you're trying to do.
And in terms of how you all do and kind of deal with deal sourcing, obviously I imagine most of the entrepreneurs in here are interested in how to kind of find family offices. Could you kind of describe what your deal sourcing efforts look like, what kind of channels you use, and any advice you'd give to an entrepreneur who's trying to find new family offices?
Yeah, so I think events like this are certainly one route. I advise one of the venture funds at the University of Michigan, and so I work closely with professors there, and as well as the tech transfer programs. And so if you have a scientific advisor or a technical founder that is affiliated with the university, oftentimes things will trickle down to our desk from those channels.
Yeah, I mean that's the $1 million question, right?
Yeah.
And it's really all about networking. It's really about networking within the universities, within accelerator programs. There's Plug and Play is a great example. There's several others in really any sort of tech center community.
All right, with that, I'd like to open it up to the audience for question and answers. Does anyone have any questions?
Hi, Christian regarding Medforce. Maybe for Kyle and Sean, you title as managing directors, and you mentioned an investment committee. So my two questions for you guys. One is, how much is your decision versus the family? And second, do you have a vested interest, some sort of a carry or skin in the game when you make a decision?
Yeah, so we have a committee of 5. My partner Kiki Bro's here as well. Say hi to her if you see her, but she's 1/5 of that, just as I am 1/5 of that. I will say if our 2/5 aren't there, then you won't be in front of the rest of the investment committee. So we're involved pretty heavily all the way through the process. We also have skin in the game, so every investment we make, we write a check and have ownership in the outcome.
To the extent family offices have an appetite for PMA medical device opportunities, or are you guys representative of kind of the ecosystem out there? Obviously, it's a longer time, but you talk about families who have suffered from these disease states. PMA may be required for some of them.
The most important thing is I wouldn't really try to categorize them at all. I think that every family office is extremely unique and different, and you should kind of treat it that way instead of saying do family offices invest preclinical? Do they wait for clinical data? It's what does this family office do? And in addition to that, I think when you have the kind of the more high science type investments that are high regulatory information that a PMA requires, you're going to want to have either a family office that maybe made their money in the medical device industry, or they have that, like you're saying, that connection with the disease. Because otherwise, they're going to have to hire people with VC backgrounds to do that level of diligence. And unless they built a structure to do that, they're not really prepared to review it.
Yeah, I think he's right on. The diligence and the work behind understanding it is a lot more. So that's why we've as a product of family offices, typically they're coming from a different industry, and so without having the deep expertise there and having to pay for it, or it's too much for us to get our lips around.